It's live now, Joe. Oh, he went back on the lag. He froze, but it's definitely live.
Hey, well, welcome to the front porch. Let's go.
Yes.
Well, we have so much trouble for your viewing pleasure. This is your DJ, Joseph Biggs. Man, I'm so tired of this mess happening to us. But everybody, front porch discussions. We on the porch today, not literally. We usually are. First and foremost, we don't own the rights to any music that you hear or any music that is played. We have some special guests with us today. We have Durham's newest Soil and Water District Supervisor and one of her team members. She is Miss Anjali Boyd, and we have her team member, Mr. Zach Meredith. How you all doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
And welcome.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Welcome.
Before we get started, we just want to say thank you for all of you all that view us every week, that participate. Please keep pushing us through your network, telling your friends to join us 6:15 every Thursday. Shout out to Big C's Waffles. They were the spotlight business last week. They had a pretty good weekend. They've already passed on the 10% revenue for the business that we're going to spotlight next week. I hope everybody went out and voted. You know, we're in that situation, but we'll save that to the end. So without any further ado, we're going to let Ms. Boyd tell us a little bit about herself and her background. We're going to let Mr. Meredith do the same. And then we're going to have a little discussion, y'all. We have some questions for them, and they may have some questions for us. And we'll definitely talk about the position that Ms. Boyd has. We'll talk about the city of Durham and where we see things going in the future for this wonderful city. So, Ms. Boyd, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I was born and raised here in Durham, in public schools, Southwest, Creekside, Shepherd IB, and then finished up at Jordan High School with Zach, actually. I have that background. Originally was pretty interested, always been interested in the environment, and throughout my life, for the most part, I was planning on going on to be a veterinarian after high school. That changed my senior year of high school, like the summer before my senior year. Kind of ditched that plan, made a new one to study marine science. And I guess the rest is kind of history with regards to that. Had to do a bunch of pivoting senior year to figure out, like, how do I become a marine scientist? You know, I was born and raised in Durham. There's no ocean around us, really. I don't know any marine scientists prior to that at all. So it was, a big learning curve there, trying to figure out what I needed to get and what I needed to gain, the experiences I needed, what's college or university, best prepare me for that. And with a lot of help from my parents, ended up deciding to go to Eckerd College in St. Petersburg, Florida, and spent the last, the 4 years when I was there, traveling a bunch, really immersed in the field, doing a bunch of internships kind of all out throughout the U.S. and abroad as well. Finished up there a little bit early, kind of graduated a semester early, came back to Durham and was trying to figure out, just kind of taking a little break, also doing a bunch of STEM education work through Invitech, which is through Invictus Sport Outreach, and also some work with Neal Middle School, trying to do some STEM education / environmental conservation work and integrating that into public school curriculums while I was applying to figure out what my next steps would be. And then, I was applying for grad school, got into Duke and a couple of other places, decided that I wanted to go to Duke, was really excited to be near home again and to try and figure out how I could use my background to better serve my community here. And so it was just kind of aligned really well that I got in, and this is kind of where I wanted to be anyway. So that's my the gist of it.
Okay. Mr. Meredith, tell us about yourself.
I'm muted.
Yeah,
Cool. So yeah, I graduated from Jordan High School with Anjali. We both were class of 2015. Before that, I went to Githens Middle School and Forest View Elementary. And then after Jordan, I went to William and Mary in Virginia, and there I studied American Studies, and focused a lot on like the history of cities and urban planning and architecture. Um, and that kind of like focus in my like undergrad studies kind of came from, I've always been interested in politics. And that interest also led me to want to get involved with Anjali, especially when I heard that she was running, and just being a classmate with her, and then also just seeing how much she had done after college. Like I would just always see like on Instagram, like jet setting across the world, presenting at a different conference, organizing this and that. So I was just always impressed with her, even though we didn't like keep that great in touch after high school. But when I heard that she was running, it was really exciting because I knew that she would just be perfect for this position, and perfect for like a young person to like have their voice in elected office in Durham. So I was really excited when she asked me to help get involved with her campaign.
Nice.
All right. So Angie, what really sparked your interest in the position? Well, first of all, tell us what the position is and what it entails.
Yeah. So the position, I always say, it's unique in the sense that it's a local position. So I'm representing the county of Durham, but it has representation at the state and the national level as well, because there's soil and water districts throughout the state of North Carolina, and they all meet annually together to collaborate on initiatives that are statewide. But then there's also soil and water districts throughout North Carolina. Throughout the United States, and so different states have soil and water districts and whatnot. And so then there's those like national meetings and stuff like that that you kind of meet with people kind of all over doing a bunch of different things. And so what it entails is basically, the slogan is protect, conserve, and enhance soil and water resources. And so that is like very, very broad. And I'm kind of always amazed at the number of things the district has its hands in. And so there's a bunch of stuff we do around environmental education work. There's stuff we do around streamline restoration, which is basically restoring creeks and stuff like that to decrease pollution and sedimentation in our waterways. We do a bunch of other cost share programs. Farmers, install best practices on their farms. What else? A lot of stuff to conserve and protect Durham's water sources and ensure that they're not getting polluted from us or other counties throughout the U.S. Throughout North Carolina. And then more recently, so I guess also the unique thing about soil and water is that what the district does is really based on the needs of that community. And so more recently down east on the coast, a lot of the soil and water districts have gotten into more like hurricane preparedness and trying to help those communities prepare for natural disasters, but also partnering with FEMA to get resources to those vulnerable communities. And so there's just a bunch of different things that the different districts do based on what their communities really need. So yes, it's a diversity of things. Anything that has to do with soil and water, I guess you could technically do it if that's something the county or your community is passionate about, or your board of supervisors. And so, yes, it's pretty vague and kind of up to interpretation, if you will.
Okay.
Nice. So I have a question for you. As you matriculated through school, who were some of your influences? And I guess both of you can answer that question.
Yeah, I guess through school, I mean, we both went to Durham Public Schools, so I would say I had some of the best teachers in Durham Public Schools. I could name a number of them. Ms. Lloyd was one of my teachers at Shepherd. Dr. C, she was actually pretty pivotal in my life when I was at Durham High School. So there's been, I would say definitely a ton of Black women have helped me get to where I am and shaped who I am in various roles and ways, and have been some of my favorite teachers throughout my career. But definitely, I think once I got to high school and afterwards, I've always really been inspired by my peers, and like what they were doing has always been kind of mind blowing. Like you grow up with these people, and then you guys are becoming adults, and you're all doing this really amazing things. And so, watching them do like really groundbreaking stuff in their fields and venturing out to new career paths is always really rewarding for me, and kind of one of those things that motivates me to do more too. So. And my dad, of course.
Yeah, I would just echo what Anjali said about like DPS teachers being a huge influence. I know, like just from high school, even like I had so many teachers, like Miss Catherine Harris. She was like my AP US history teacher, and she really got me interested in history and different ways of thinking about it. And also just like another cool thing, at least just of like the like social media era that we live in, is like being friends, like Facebook friends with some former teachers, and also seeing the kind of like stuff that they put on social media. So like my freshman English teacher was Ketty Telemack. She taught yeah, I guess it's fresh.
Yeah, I know her. Yeah.
But yeah, it's been so cool to see all the stuff that she does in the Durham community. And like, so it's like inspiring, like after the fact almost. And I mean, Anjali can speak more to that, but that was like a huge part of the campaign, was like centering like Durham public schools, and the impact that it has on young people in the Durham community, and how it can link up with this Soil and Water District Supervisor position.
Wow, that's nice. So that actually leads into my second question. So it was, what is your ideal goal for the community since you've been elected?
It has to be definitely around students and young folks and education. As a position, one of the things I think we all kind of ran into this whole campaign, and we were kind of warned before we got into it, was like, really nobody knows what that position is. So that's like a big, I guess, part of the campaign was just educating people on like what the position was and why it's important type of thing. And which is not surprising because I didn't know what it was coming up either. Like I had not heard of it when I was in school and stuff like that. But
what is the title? What is the actual title?
Durham County Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's a long title. But yeah, so my I guess ultimate goal has to do with increasing STEM and environmental education curriculum in Durham Public Schools, but also encouraging more Durham students to run for elected office. That's one of the things that we also noticed, like there's a ton of elected officials in Durham, not many of them are from here. And that's also, something that was surprising to find out. And so encouraging more students and folks to get involved with politics, which is something that I kind of strayed away from myself as well. Like I voted and stuff like that, but I was not super active when it came to politics because it just seemed like it was just so many moving parts, and sometimes it felt like really out of touch and not like I had much control over it. So trying to shift that narrative also is really important. But yeah, I guess I think the reason I'm here is because of young folks and the support we receive from our peers and stuff like that. And so that's definitely like my top priority, is making sure I'm doing what's big, also ensuring that the next generation, like we have more people from Durham interested in this position because it's so important, and that that education is getting into the public school systems, and that we're doing a better job integrating our programs with the district, within the community, and within our students. So.
Yeah, I was gonna add.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You good?
We as African American women, we tend to don't go into the sciences. So as young African American women, they don't have the information or the knowledge of marine science or environmental science, and they're not really sure of the actual position and what it entails. So what advice would you give a young girl who may be in middle school or high school that is interested in marine science or environmental science?
We need you, so you need to come into this field. It is. I'm blown away because a lot of the problems, especially environmental problems that we're facing these days, are super severe and very important. But at the same time, they're going to affect communities of color the most, and poor communities the most, and those aren't the people who are in the field. And so when people are trying to create solutions around environmental extreme weather events like hurricanes or heat waves and stuff like that, and you're not taking in consideration the actual people who are getting the blunt end of the stick when it comes to these problems, that's problematic, and you're not going to be able to solve those problems the way you should be able to. And you get into situations we're in now where there's a whole bunch of people, well-meaning people, trying to create solutions for communities that they don't live in and they don't know. And so it's imperative that we get more people of color, especially Black women, Black men. Actually, the field in general, not a lot of Black people in it at all, but there are very, very, very few Black people, even compared to Black women. And so, we need you. We need your ideas. We need your experiences. We need your perspective for what that looks like. But I know it's also to get into a field that have no role models or no, nobody to show you how to do it. That's a challenge in and of itself. And so,
Now, go ahead, Eric.
I have a question as it relates to me being a Durham resident. I see that the built environment in Durham is increasing and expanding, and we're having less and less natural spaces. So how does your job kind of intersect with all of the growth and development that's occurring in Durham?
Yeah. So that was one of the things we brought up, one of the action items we kind of discussed in our campaign, because so technically as district supervisor, we don't have a role in, we're not a regulatory body, and so we're not the city, so we can't really do much when it comes to development, but there is room for us. There are a lot of other areas where we should be more involved with when it comes to city planning and housing and development and stuff like that. But we really, and I don't know why we haven't had an active voice in those planning committees and stuff like that, but that's something that I'm really pushing for, because there's a lot of ways, innovative ways that other cities are doing to ensure that there are, one, that you can develop, but that you can develop and also create green spaces and plant trees, all of that stuff. And so that's definitely something that's on my radar. And then I'm hoping to have our district be more actively involved in that process. But what that will look like, I'm not totally sure. It will be more of a consulting based type thing or what. But I totally agree with you. There's definitely a lack of awareness around the certain environmental issues when it comes to planning and development and stuff like that. So, yeah.
This question is kind of a two-part question. The first part will be basically for Anji, and the second part will be something that you and Zach both could answer. So you decided to run, and you put together this team, and I think it was a wonderful team. But it was this team, the age group of these people that were on this team is amazing. Everybody's young. I think everybody's under 25 and under, or under 25. Everybody's under 25. And so just to see that and seeing seeing you guys come together as young as you are and wanting to be a part of the political process and try to get involved and institute change within Durham, within the city. I thought that was a wonderful thing, but I know a lot of times that can also be met with some opposition. So first, I would like for Anjali to tell us, how did you assemble your team? You know, and then secondly, the two of you, what type of things did you see as disadvantages being the age you are, and what things were advantages being the age that you are?
So when it came to assembling the team, I was like, I had no idea what I was doing at first. I had very little idea what it was like to run a campaign before July of this month. And I think I was just calling a whole bunch of like elected officials and other folks I knew in Durham, talking to them like, hey, so exactly what do I need to do to pull this off? Like, what does this process look like? And one of the things that a couple of them kept saying is like, you need to put it together. I'm like, hey, what is that team supposed to do? Like, what exactly am I supposed to be doing with the team put together? And they kind of spilled off some like key roles or things that they've had teams do in the past. Some of the advice I took, some of it I discarded because I didn't think it was applicable to me. And when I started to like think about who I wanted to be on my team, at first I was very confused. At first I had no idea. Like I said, I did not know what I was doing. And so I was trying to figure out like, who do I know that's in politics that want to be on this team? Could not come up with anybody. I'm like, this isn't going to be paid either because it's a really local position. So what exactly am I trying to accomplish? And like talking to my dad, and the gist of it was that I was trying to run a big part of me running was representation and also advocating for our youth. And so then that became the kind of the catalyst of like, well, then that's who the team needs to be. And so then I really called up a whole bunch of people that I went to school with, that I knew and kind of grew up with. And yeah, they thankfully all agreed to be on the team. And it was kind of just, I guess, evolved from there. But yeah, it was a very, I think at first I was definitely sucked into like the typical, like how you run a political campaign. Like you need this treasurer, you want them to be super experienced and have all this knowledge because if anything happens, there could be some really bad impacts for your campaign. They need to know how to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. Like, I didn't even know how to find these people. And so I think a big part of our team and something that I try to talk about a lot is that we're learning how to do this on the fly. Some of them, like some campaign experience. Madeline also had done some campaign experience. We also went together at Eckerd. And so she had done some stuff with the Hillary Clinton campaign, but she was also kind of took that and said like, hey, that was a national campaign. This is local. I really also don't apply some of that stuff. So yeah, we were all on the fly, I would guess. I just took the people I knew could do the job. And I've seen them in action in various other places, put those, great minds together. And, I think we did a pretty good job. So yeah.
That's great. That's great. Y'all did a wonderful job. So being young, what were some of the advantages and disadvantages to that? And we'll let Zach go first and you can finish up, Anjali.
Sure. Well, I mean, 20 was just such a unique year for running a campaign because the pandemic was going on. I think when we all got together, like the pandemic, we had already been like 2 months into quarantine and whatnot. So I feel like it was just such a unique time to be like mounting a campaign, but I feel like the fact that we were all young really helped us in that, and just like not being used to running a campaign a certain way, I feel like we weren't so rigid, so we could adapt. And also, I just think the fact that we grew up on social media, like what is it, digital natives. So in terms of social media, which I think was like a huge instrument in this in campaigning for this election, I think we had that like down pat. Like, so what social media strategies that can really work and really work, especially to turn out like young voters in Durham.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything Zach said. I was definitely, I guess, I was definitely in the same boat where like I was getting all this advice from senior people about how to run a campaign. And then a lot of it I couldn't even do if we wanted to do. So I was like, I have no idea how we're supposed to pull this off. If like everybody's saying, you know, you got to have these fundraising events and you got to go to all the different like churches and you got to go to all the action meetings and kind of just show your face at all these different events. And none of that was happening. And so it's like, how do we do that and, you know, reach the voters that we need to reach with all that changing. And then on top of that, everybody was trying to figure out how to campaign virtually. And I think we did have an advantage there because we knew how to work technology. We were really, really innovative when it came to social media and stuff, and took advantage of all those things that we kind of grew up on, like Zach said. But yeah, it was a lot of like listening to people, what they were saying, and taking what I could use and discarding what we couldn't. And then also just trusting that we know Durham, like we were raised in it, we grew up here, we kind of know what young folks want from Durham and what they respond to. And so trusting the team and what they does was also a really big part of this process, I would say.
Okay. Okay. I know in that position that you have now, there have been some other African American women in that position. What does it mean to you to come after them and, you know, kind of following their legacy and starting to leave your own?
Yeah, it's like super honored because there's been four other. I'm the fourth one to serve in this position, but Stella Adams kind of paved the way for this. She was the first Black woman in the state of North Carolina to hold this position, and it's been held by Black women for the last 30 years, ever since she started in 1988, I want to say. And so it's been a long legacy of Black women in this position, but also knowing that not only have Black women been in this position, our district has also been at the forefront of like change and innovation throughout the state of North Carolina. And so it really means a lot to, you know, have understand what they've done and what they've done to make it easier for me to be where I am, and what I need to do to make it easier for other Black women to come after me to, you know, hold the same position and have the same type of impact on the community. So yeah, it means a lot, and I'm really privileged because, like I said, Black people shaped me and got me to where I am here, and so it's always like an honor and a privilege to kind of, you know, continue that legacy that they started for me.
Okay. Okay. I think you're muted, Eric.
I got it. Yeah, I got a question in regards to both of you all. Zach, in terms of politics, and Ms. Boyd as it relates to the environment. So based on your perspective as a young person growing up into this system, particularly where the political system is losing its validity and people are kind of losing respect in that system. I want to know from you, Zach, how do you, as a young person coming up in that political system, how do you foresee it changing and being impacted by the volatile situations that we see today?
Well, I think just what we need to do is we really just need to get organized and organized within like the electoral system, but even with outside of the electoral system. And I just think like when people are organized together, they're stronger. So even if the like electoral system is volatile and failing at points, hopefully if we get to a point where we're strong enough as a community, like we can stand down some of what's coming down at us.
Okay. So on the environmental aspect, like I don't think the environment is respected at all in any case. But as we move forward with climate change and those types of things that are being kind of like in the common dialogue, like how do you, Ms. Boyd, like how do you foresee like us, I guess, becoming more environmentally friendly? Or do you see us ever getting to a point where we are more so mentally friendly?
Yeah, I definitely think we don't have a choice if we want to, survive. We're going to make that transition. I think at this point, it's kind of like, are we going to be proactive about it, or are we going to like just have something happen to us and then have to adapt super quickly and lose a whole bunch of lives that were unnecessarily lost because of it? Is where we're at this point, in my opinion. And for me, I think this also kind of goes back to like the lack of diversity in environmental conservation as to like why the field isn't as popular as maybe, or isn't getting the mainstream attention as it should be. I think it's changing now because there's a lot of young folks and a lot of folks from diverse backgrounds kind of like the Sunrise Movement of work, kind of mobilizing young folks and especially folks of color to kind of to speak out about these issues. So like, a lot of our historical organizations, or I guess, I don't know what I would call them. Like organizations that have done a lot of environmental work have a very like long history of racism inside of those organizations as well. And so it comes back to the same things that we're facing in various other sectors of society, where there's criminal justice or healthcare. We're doing the same thing in the environment. It just doesn't get enough attention because it's harder to pinpoint, the fact that, hey, I have asthma because I grew up in a polluted environment, and not say, oh, it could also be because, I had a bad diet or a bunch of other things. So I always say like the environment is kind of like this invisible thing that has this huge impact on everybody, but nobody can measure it really. And it's hard to figure out exactly like where those points are if you're not aware of them. And so a big part of that, I believe, is one, mobilizing youth of color around the issue, because they're the ones who are getting the blunt end of the stick when it comes to these issues, but also pairing the environmental issues that we're having with more mainstream topics. So there is a direct, correlation between human health and the environment. People care about human health, and there's a lot of stuff around healthcare and all that stuff. And so when you pair that with you bring in the environmental issues into that same, sector or whatnot, I think you have a bigger impact because people can kind of see that more clearly as opposed to the environment just by itself. So there's a couple other things, but I think it's definitely trying to make it more applicable to people's everyday life. So how is a heat wave going to affect my ability to get food tomorrow? Like how does that affect our local farmers' ability to, grow crops that they want to grow or stuff like that? And how does that affect the economy and all these other things that I think people are starting to pay more attention to? How these how the can have a big impact. There's definitely like a lot of work that needs to be done.
One, and I will say, because of you, I got rid of my plastic water bottle and I got a steel one. Yeah, because of you.
Yeah, because of you and your beliefs, passing down to your father, who I'm around a lot. I don't use plastic straws. Yeah. Almost had a fit. He was like, "How'd you say the birds would choke on them?" I'm like, "Okay, man, I got it."
Y'all have an impact on older people and not just younger people.
That's good. See, that's milestone, I guess, to get them to throw away all the plastic we had at the house. Like we have plastic cups and plastic plates and plastic silverware. So yeah, it was a process, but we got there.
I got rid of mine. So yeah, will you be doing more kind of fun tidbit things like that to us as it relates to your social media account that you started through your campaign?
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely trying to figure out what I want to use social media for. Now that like I'm in this position, like I don't want it to be like I just used it and then people don't hear from me for another 4 years. I'm trying to figure out how best to go about making sure that folks are constantly engaged with what I'm up to and what the position entails and like how that relates to their everyday life. And like also maintaining like an open line of communication with the residents of Durham. So my email, my number is out there. I encourage people to like reach out, contact me. Love to talk at schools or whatever it may be to engage. I'm all for it.
Oh, wonderful.
Now, a lot of times when somebody or a group of people are trailblazers or groundbreakers, they don't really see it that way or notice it because they're just doing something that inspired them and they're trying to make a change, so on and so forth. But you all, as a young unit, and you being a young person that has secured this position, where do you see Durham going from here? Where do you see them going in the future as far as young people getting involved in politics and, you know, hopefully going towards those mayoral positions and, you know, city council and all that other kind of stuff? Do you all think you all are the spark plug for that? And are you going to push and encourage other young people to start going after a lot of positions here in Durham?
Yeah, I definitely am encouraging everybody I know and tapping people to be like, hey, this is becoming available. You should look into it, type of thing. I already did that with the team. I was like, hey, somebody told me that these positions might be opening up. So if folks are interested, you should run. So yeah, I'm definitely way more passionate about it than I was before. The need to get more young folks involved. Because I'm realizing more and more that politics is kind of being played by the same people over and over again, and we're where we are now because of it, I think. And there's a lot of young folks doing some brilliant things that have the ability and the capacity to lead that maybe they just don't think because politics seems like this really big arena type of thing. I'm not sure. I think it's a bit of a couple other things, but yeah, I'm definitely encouraging as many people as I can to seek elected office in Durham. I'm hoping some of the Durham native team folks will also do the same because I think we have a lot to say, and you know, at the end of the day, it's kind of our future and what we're doing today is going to affect our life 5 years from now. So I'm really all about us being more active in this landscape.
Okay.
Do you see yourself diving more into policy more so?
We'll get you, Zach.
Okay. Or do you eventually go back to the water at some time?
I'm definitely going back to the water. I'm still in the water. I'm not leaving that. Policy, yeah. I have a mission in life, and I'll do whatever it takes to get it done. So if that means I need to go into policy, I'll go into policy. I don't have. I mean, I definitely was kind of like hesitant about it before because I'm a scientist and kind of grew up around business folks and stuff like that. And so politics is like that thing that people just stay over there. They do that by themselves, and you know, you vote or whatever, and that's that. So it's giving me a new like outlook on it, I guess. It's not as intimidating as it was come like July of this year. But yeah, I'm about whatever I have to do to get more young folks involved and engaged. I'll do it. So if that's policy, then yeah.
Zach, we're gonna let you answer that question too. Where do you see politics in the future as far as young people are concerned here in Durham, and are you really trying to push a lot of young people to get positions? I also want to shout out my man Damon Williams. He just popped on.
Sure. I was just gonna say, I mean, politics in general, and then politics locally here in Durham does the elected officials do tend to skew a little bit older. So that would definitely be exciting to see more young people running for office, especially because Durham is such a young city, and so much of that energy is from the young folks, just doing different things, and I don't know, it's exciting to be a part of. But yeah, that would just be really exciting to see the energy of a young city be reflected in our elected officials.
That's great. That's great. So to both of you, what are your plans for the future? We know that you are going back into school, Miss Boyd, getting your PhD and things of that sort. And I hope I don't embarrass you, but before we get off here, I gotta say it. You know what I'm gonna say before you tell me about your future. I knew she was gonna probably go in this direction when she was a young girl because she told me she had a favorite pastime. We happened to be at an amusement park, and she was she was chasing some birds, and so she told me, "Hey, Uncle Joe, this is what I do. I chase birds. That's what I do." So she was a bird chaser early. I knew she loved animals. I knew she loved animals, man. That's so wild. But to see her grow up and to see where she is now, I'm just so proud and so pleased. Her parents have done a wonderful job raising her and raising her siblings. They've instilled a lot of good values in her. She's a great person. She works hard. She has a work ethic that's impeccable. So I think you have a very bright future. And of course, I'm seeing the people you surround yourself with. So hopefully, I can assume that they're the same type people.
Yeah.
So both of you, where do you want to go in the future? What do you want to do from here?
I'm getting my doctorate in marine science and conservation. I'll be preoccupied, I guess, for the next 5 years there doing that. But outside of that, really just trying to making sure that I'm engaging young folks as best as I can, and also bridging the gap that I can, especially when it comes to like environmental conservation fields and science STEM fields, with young youth of color, making sure that they're excited about it and they're engaged and they have the resources to pursue these fields if they're interested in them. Making sure that I use the stuff that I'm doing and the accolades I get to my community and the people coming up under me, and making sure I'm making things easier for other folks. So.
Did Zach answer that one?
No, he didn't answer.
I'm still confused. I'm trying to figure it out.
No problem.
But
it's okay, Zach.
I don't know. I've always wanted to work in like education, so I'm strongly considering like going to school to get my like teaching license, and like teaching like I would want to teach high school history or something. But also I don't know if I want to like go to grad school and maybe do more like on the research side, but still like have the opportunity to teach. I don't know. I'm confused. So
You're not confused. You're fine.
You're not confused. Take your time. I will say this, Zach. The three of us are in education.
Oh, I did
Mr.
not know
Salim
that.
is at the collegiate level, but he's also done high school and middle school. Miss Childress is in public education with elementary kids, and I've been at the high school level as well as the middle school level. I'm currently in Neal Middle School, and I also want to applaud you all and tell everybody that's watching, if you're in Durham, these are products of Durham Public Schools. This is what Durham Public Schools puts out, y'all. I know sometimes people want to give the school system here a bad rap, or what are they doing or how they doing, but we have more diamonds than we do rocks, y'all, regular rocks. We have a lot of diamonds, and if people will start, communities get behind us, get behind these schools and support us, and these businesses and industries out here start giving the school system some more resources and working with us. These are the type of talents that we have inside of Durham Public Schools, and I'm very proud to say that they are a part of Durham Public Schools and that I work in Durham Public Schools. So, everybody should be applauding that and be pleased. And Zach, if you ever need some advice towards education, what you want to do. I was a history teacher at the middle school and the high school level. So Angie has my number. We can always have that conversation, and I can try to give you some pointers and guide you in the right direction. And if you finish and things are right, you can always sit at the table over at the middle school and have an interview. So we'll give you an interview. I can't promise that the job will be yours, but we will give you an interview.
Well, yeah, I might take you up. Touch you up on that, because the pandemic has me really confused.
What I want you to know now, I want you to also understand that it's going to be the reward and the heart and the mind. It's not going to be the pockets.
But the thing about it is that don't get discouraged because you have a vision and you know what you want, but you're just kind of like, which way do I go? So as long as you have that vision, you have somewhere to go. So you always need to remember that. So just keep pushing.
Yeah, and as long as you keep hanging around people like Angie and the rest of the crew that y'all got, I always tell people you are the sum of the 5 people you hang around the most. So if you hang around 5 of them and they're advancing and they're doing some great stuff, you'll see the moves they're making. You'll see the way they talk and interact. That'll rub off when you'll be a part of you and you'll be number 6. So don't ever worry about that. Don't worry about that. Just keep good people around you. Try to be good to people. Be positive. Give respect. Obviously, hopefully the respect will come back. If not, then you might have to take it sometimes. But just be good to people. Stay positive, man. Keep your head clear. Keep negativity out of your life and hang around great people. You're going to be all right. It's not going to be a problem. Not going to be a problem at all. So I guess with that being said, Eric, Janai, y'all have any last words, anything y'all want to say?
Janai?
I'm not from North Carolina and I do not live in Durham. I'm in Maryland, but I am just really excited about what you guys are doing in Durham County. And, I'm all for the girl power, honey, all for it. So keep pushing and make sure you get some programs started, integrated in the school system for our young Black women so they can see and have a role model. Say, hey, if she did it, I can do it too. So just keep pushing and keep that in mind the next 5 years.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So I'll just say, kudos to young people finding their space, carving it out in this world. I like that you all took that initiative to be a voice and not play passive. So, hats off to both. Definitely, Ms. Boyd, being a Black scientist, going through what you had as a soloist, not many peers associated with that. Definitely hats off to you and your sojourn through the the science field. And I wish you much success on your PhD. Zach, if you come into teaching, it's one of the hard, it's like a Peace Corps. It's the toughest job you'll ever love. Because a lot of times you don't get that gratitude that you normally do from other positions. But yeah, trying to teach, I think, is a noble cause. So hopefully you do try to teach, because we need good people teaching. A lot of times people just do it for a position and not for the love of what they do. I think you will be one of the ones that do it because you love what you do. So I wish both of you luck and whatever you choose to do.
Thank you so much.
Well, with that, I just want to say thanks to everybody that did tune in and check us out tonight. I hope that you continue to keep watching Front Porch Discussions. I wish Angie, Zach, and the rest of the team great success in everything that you all want to do. Hopefully you won't forget the old folk like us and reach back, maybe open up your purse, your pocketbook a little bit, check a little change on us a little bit, because y'all going to be super successful and multi-billionaires and all that kind of stuff, figuring out why frogs do this and that, and all in the water and everything else. Maybe you can make some artificial gills for me and I can swim. I don't know. But Front Porch Discussion people, thank y'all for tuning in. Hopefully y'all will keep tuning in every week. Please share with your networks. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Front Porch Discussions. Join the group on Facebook. And with that being said, everyone have a great rest of your evening and a great weekend. And we'll talk to y'all later. Peace. Baby, I've been fantasizing.
easy. Just looking in. You know I'm looking for more.
See you later, girl.
Bye, man.